We're discussing something about Gauranga, Lord Gauranga's pastimes in Vrindavan. Just on my head, yeah. In Vrindavan. We were in Puri yesterday discussing Puri Leela. But these two pastimes, one is the Mahaprabhu discovers Radha Kunda. Do we have a nectar of instruction also? And open it to that verse where it talks about one bath in Radha Kunda. Snatureva Sakrit Prema Avishkaroti. Maybe number 10 or 11 or so. So this Mahaprabhu discovers Radha Kunda, and it's Chaitanya Charitamrita class. Mahaprabhu discovers Radha Kunda. This is from chapter 18. The whole chapter is called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his visit to Sri Vrindavan. Vrindavane stiracharan nandayan savalokane atmanam chadra lokad Gauranga parito brahmat. Just one bath and Radha Kunda awakens prema in the mood of the gopis. So this is, of course, a Sanskrit shloka to introduce the whole idea of the chapter. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over Vrindavan and pleased all living entities. Okay, that's good. Just leave it. Moving and non-moving with his glances. Mahaprabhu took much personal pleasure in seeing everyone. In this way, Lord Gauranga traveled in Vrindavan. Vrindavane stiracharan nandayan savalokane. Stiracharan, the moving and non-moving living entities. Stira, like trees and plants, and charan, the birds and other animals. Nandayan, he gave them pleasure. Swa avaloka, his personal glances. And by seeing them, he also felt pleasure within himself. Tada alalakat. Gauranga paritak abramat. Gauranga traveled. Oftentimes the Sanskrit says Gauranga, but Srila Prabhupada, he so much liked to say Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rather than Gauranga. Although the Sanskrit, this is Sanskrit, says Gauranga. So this is the theme of the entire chapter, traveling on Vrindavan. Of course, he said he moved all around Vrindavan. I know it's page 89, it's all right. He traveled all around Vrindavan, which means he arrived in Vishram Ghat, beginning his yatra of Vrindavan, took bath in Vishram Ghat, which everyone does when they first come. Sometimes when gurus initiate disciples, they tell them to go to Vishram Ghat and to shave and then take bath, give some Brahman Dan, because there's no more purifying bath in the entire universe than Vishram Ghat. Because there, Krishna took rest, he washed his hands after killing Kamsa. And Kamsa represents so much sin. Because Kamsa, under his order, his henchmen were harassing all the Brishnis and the devotees and locking them up and torturing them. And you see in that movie, we saw that Krishna or Kant's movie, or what do you call it? Animation. So apparently he's killing babies and cows, and this sounds like the modern Kansa class of men, as Prabhupada often says, the Kants class of men, because in Prabhupada's purport of the 10th canto Bhagavatam, where it's talking about Krishna kills Kants, in the purport he says, in Krishna's time there was one Kants, but now everywhere there are Kamsa, the countries are being ruled by the Kamsa class of men, and their primary business is killing babies and cows. So that was, ironically enough, this is going on in Mathura, the capital. And one of the oldest slaughterhouses in North India is in Mathura. It was opened in 1776 or something by the British. And it's still running on, despite numerous protests by various Sammelans and samajas and groups of sadhus over the years. So the Kamsa class of men are very much in charge of the world. But so when Krishna killed him, then all the Vrishnis returned to Mathura. Ugrasen was let out of jail. Kamsa's father was in balls and chain, tied in a ball and chain in prison. And Vasudeva and Devaki were in prison, the father and mother of God, Krishna. And they're all released. And everyone returned, and Ugrasen was made the king of Mathura and then on to Dwarka. So Kamsa, when Krishna killed him, then he dragged him. Because people thought, oh, maybe he fainted or maybe he had a heart attack or something. He's still alive. And how could he die? Because Krishna jumped up on the dais. Just little boy hits you on the chest. What is that? It's like a lotus flower on the back of an elephant. You throw a lotus flower at an elephant. It's like a little boy. Sometimes boys play with their grandfathers. How old was Krishna? He was 11 years old. He's only 10, almost 11. And Kamsa is this huge figure that wrestled, that defeated Ravana. He's like too much, he was going all over the universe. And then so no one could believe it. How is it? So then he said, well, yeah, just watch. He grabbed him by his hair and dragged him some distance right out of the arena. And everyone, I think he's dead. Then Krishna went to Vishramghat and I washed my hands of it. They have this phrase in the Bible, wash your hands of the sin. So this Vishramghat is a place where all the sins are put to rest. All the sins are put to rest. And Krishna, Vishram of course means rest. So Krishna rested there under the banyan tree there. But it's a place where he put to rest all the sins that were harassing the Brijvasis and all the sins that were preventing Brajabhajan. Brajabhajan means to live in Vrindavan with Krishna as the center of your life and worship Krishna. So the Vrishnis and other Yadavas and Vrishnis, who Krishna is the center of their life, and they were living in Vrindavan, always singing about Krishna, and he was the center of their discussion. Even ladies in the Mathura Ramanis were getting news of Krishna. What's the latest? Oh, he stole the yogurt, and he did this and that, and he let loose the calves, and the calves ran and drank all the milk, and the ladies chased him in the fields because all the milk was taken by the calves, and there was none left for the family. So many antics and pranks of Krishna. So when the flower ladies and fruit vendors, because the main market is in Mathura, as it is today, fruit and vegetable market. So the fruit vendors would come to Gokul, they cross the river by a boat, follow, follow, follow. And then so they would, and then they say, oh, Lala, do you know what Nandalal did today? And they say, because you ever see the man in the city goes there with a push cart, sabji lo, gobi, 5 rupiah kilo, gobi. And so he goes all around the neighborhood so he can scoop up the news, because ladies are always telling him the latest news. When they buy the sabji, they say, oh, because they think he's an innocent, neutral person. Hey, Mali, hey, sabji wala, so-and-so's husband, so-and-so's. Oh, then he goes, sabji lo, and then someone else, and he gets some good khichdi by the end of the day. So he has all the scoops of the whole neighborhood, or many neighborhoods. So the Falwalis, and they would come and they would go back to Mathura with the mala and with the flowers and so many things. So this is how the news spread. Just like now, you go to the market and you go to buy some sabji, and someone says, what happened? What happened? You're just in the market. I would find out about the whole world news just going to buy sabji in Radha Kunda. Really, when I used to go buy sabji, now my chowkidar was buying. They said, Maharaj, what happened? There was a tidal wave, tsunami, or this, that, or any kind of thing. Because they all watch the TV, and I don't know what's going on. They even would tell me ISKCON news. So you know what's going on? ISKCON in Vrindavan, the governor just went to take darshan on Krishna Balaram temple, and they blocked the streets. And well, you know? No, I don't. Hey, that's nice. So this Mahaprabhu, he went to Vishramghat, he rested there, he took bath there, then he went on a tour. Janamamata went there, Manavanjapuri went there, Nityananda went there, Advaita went there. Everybody enters Braj Mandal, no matter where they may end up. They may end up at Akruragat, they may end up at Manasiganga, they may end up at Terganam, they may end up anywhere doing their bhajan stali. But everyone who would enter, this is the way it's told in all Padma Purana, everything. that if you ever go on Braj Trasi Coast, Brikama, it begins in Mathura. This system is like that. I went once in 87, 88 maybe. And we began in Mathura, and then maybe Purnima, Ashwin Purnima or something. And then first day of Kartika, according to the way they do it. So then we took darshan of Keshav, we took a bath in Vishnu Ghat and darshan of Keshavji, and many temples there. And that's where it begins, in that place. So now Mahaprabhu is moving all around Braj Mandal, and wherever he goes, he's glancing at the living entities. He's just this is Vrindavan. And what is he thinking, and what is he looking? These trees live for hundreds and hundreds of years. And if you don't see the Father, if you see the Son, he looks like the Father, then you can remember the Father. So these trees are all sons and grandsons of the original trees that Mahaprabhu saw. When we came in 77, we had the fortune to see some of the trees that Mahaprabhu saw and embraced, like the Imlitala. The Imlitala tree was so huge, it was huge. Now it's some babies growing up there, but this tree was huge, alive in 77. And there was no temple there, it was nothing under the tree, no mandap under the tree, just the tree, little tiny Gaudiya Math temple. A darshan mandap was from where the entrance to the deities was, and the darshan mandap was about 8 feet, 6 feet. And then there was 3 doors. And then there were steps going down, and then there was a little darshan mandap, but not even covered. And then in that darshan mandap, which was open, was the Imli tree, Imli Tala. No boundary wall, and you sit there and it just looked right out to the Yamuna. There's nothing. 77 now, it's like some other Swarga Loka or something. So that was a tree, and then we would sit there and chant and lean against the tree, and Lord Chaitanya sat on the tree, and we could see the Yamuna going by, and at some distance, like now, but less distance. So he was so happy. So when we come to Vrindavan, we're seeing the trees that, who's the father of these trees, or some of these trees, they saw Mahaprabhu. And they received his glance, or maybe he touched their branches as he went by, or touched their twigs. And they're devotees. It's only 500 years ago the trees were devotees? Or it was only 5,000 years ago the trees were devotees? It was true 5,000 years ago. It was true 500 years ago. It's no longer... Truth is truth. Dham Tattva. The truth of Dham is always the truth of Dham. When you read in the Bhagavatam, it says that the birds and the trees are actually rishis and sages who have taken the form of that Pakshi Rupam, to sing the glories of the Mahima of the Lord. As rishis do, they sing Samaveda, Rigveda, to glorify the Lord. So here there's so many gopis singing about the Lord, so they can't become gopis. At least they can become birds. There's even one Upanishad called Taittiriya. The Taittiriya is the name of a bird. And it's 2 birds, actually. Taittiriya Upanishad is Upanishad spoken by 2 birds. I mean, literally. And they're speaking Sanskrit, like Garuda. Garuda speaks Sanskrit. The Samaveda, even his wings are chanting the Samaveda. Garuda. When Garuda flies through there, he doesn't listen to rock and roll. He's playing the Samaveda. I mean, he's like singing. His wings are singing the Samaveda. And Narada Muni's Veena is saying Bhajana Veena Radhika Ramana, like this now. And then they're all chanting and singing. So this Vrindavan is the same. So Mahaprabhu is showing us that when he went to Vrindavan, everyone was so pleased to see him. Swa alokana, his glances when he looked. And he was so, I'm in Vrindavan. And there's Brahmins here, and there was Brahmins then, and there's Brahmins now, and there's Banias. Everything is the same. It's not different. The only 500 years ago, and what was the difference between 500 and 5,000? Practically nothing. Bale gutties and everything, natural system and agriculture, no hydrochemicals and no DDT and no airplanes, no helicopters and no autos and no taxis and no anything. 500 years ago. So that Vrindavan is still there. I was going out near here, outside a little bit of Radha Kunda, not nearby, just out by the Mahaprabhu temple, in that direction, towards Kunjera, where the elephant, all the gopis became elephant, and Krishna rode, there's Leela Kunjera. And then I was with the rickshaw, and there was a whole group of trees in the field, and I said, "Oh, it looks like Kanamakandi or something, like a forest." I stopped. He said, "What is that?" He said, "That's my land." I said, "Oh, that's your land?" He said, "Yeah." He said those are jamun trees, katan mitai, katan mitai, kind of purple thing, very healthy. And on Krishna's foot, on Krishna's left foot, that fruit is there. And there's many, many trees like it. And I said, oh, looks so nice, looks so inviting. So this is the chapter about Mahaprabhu enters Vrindavan. And this particular section is Mahaprabhu discovers Radha Kunda. But first he discovers Vrindavan. So the question is, have we discovered Vrindavan? We may visit Vrindavan, we may live in Vrindavan, but have we discovered it? Have we seen beyond the cover? Discover, there's the word is discover. Discard the cover and enter in. Because he discovered something. It means there was a covering of ignorance over that discovery. Oh, so-and-so, Columbus discovered America in 1492, or whatever. They drill down your head, and then the Italians say, actually it was an Italian, not a Portuguese. was Americo Vespucci. Americo Vespucci discovered America in 1491. But the Portuguese, who never liked the Italians to begin with, they claimed that Columbus, who was Portuguese, you think there's a problem with the Prachin Janmastan and the new Janmastan and the Prachin Janmastan? There's always, who did it? Who's the real one? That question goes on eternally. Who's the real one? What's the real thing? Is anything real? Will we ever know? I guess we'll only know what is real when we become real. Ultimately, in other words, you have to be the truth to know the truth. We have this phrase in English: it takes one to know one. So if you're realized in absolute truth, then you can understand when you're looking at the absolute truth. I remember I told this many times, but one saint told me, he said that we have so many doubts that even if Vishnu gives Sakshat Darshan or Krishna, they will say, no. Are you from Bollywood? And then and then he shows forearms, and we'll go up and we'll hang on. And so you're supposed to be okay. If you're Vishnu and you have all this strength, we'll hang on to two arms. He'll be there. He's holding Chakra, Gada, Padma, and we're hanging on. We're going like this. And he's like not moving because he's super strong. He's good. Yeah, these two arms seem real, but what about these other two? Maybe he's Pondraka. Imitation. So then go in the house, and then you start swinging and like this, and whatever. These forearms, they're real. But what is this blue? Starts scratching his blue arm. This must be some polish. This is some polish on your arm. This must be blue polish. This can't be. Huh? Must be holy. Yeah, right there. Must be holy. You're a white Punjabi or an American or a Russian guy. It's an act. I mean, I don't know, because they have Corel Draw on a computer and do so much paintbrush and stuff, and maybe it's some kind of fake. Is it real? We'll have so many doubts. The idea is there's so many shamshaya. That's why there's the theme of Bhagavad Gita. It's the theme of every conditioned soul. That's the theme of his life: doubt. Enshrouded with doubt. We're enshrouded with doubt. We doubt ourselves. We doubt our own existence. Do I exist? I doubt I'm an Atma. I doubt I'm eternal. It is a fundamental doubts we have. From here, what to speak about the existence of the absolute truth as Brahmati Paramatmati Bhagavaniti Shavyate. Vadanti tattaviras tad yataj jnanam advayam. These, and Advaya Jnani, it says Advaya Jnani, or any Paramatmavadi, or a Bhagavan worshipper, they are free from doubts. One is absorbed in Advaita Gyan, it says Advaita Gyan. He knows Advaita Gyan means the absolute truth. Can be understood in three ways. But we can't have any perception or conception of the absolute truth until we become absolute. I often make a joke. Someone says, "Oh, Maharaj, I spent my weekend with my relatives." I said, "There's your your relativities and your absoluties." When you spend your weekend with devotees, then you spend with your absoluties. They're absoluties, not your they're your absolutives, not your relatives. Because your relatives and everything related to this material body, this material is relative, which is not the truth. It's temporary. So this Mahaprabhu is seeing Vrindavan beyond the cover, and he's happy. He's very pleased just to see everything. And this type of vision comes also that one becomes pleased and he realizes, I'm in Vrindavan. These are Kalpavriksha trees. Forget about Kalpavriksha trees, because I hope they aren't. I hope they aren't Kalpavriksha trees. Because if they are Kalpavriksha trees, I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? Because the kind of desires that I have that are maybe not mentionable, I do have a few good ones, really. I'll share those with you, but my bad ones I'll keep myself. And if the trees fulfill those, and are they selective? They only fulfill the good ones, or they fulfill the bad ones? Or how do they know? So I hope they aren't. But at least I can understand they're devotees. I'm a tree, and I'm a devotee, or trying to be. I have my roots, I have my branches. My roots are my feet, my branches are my arms, my trunk is my chest, my leaves are my hair, my fruits are my heart or my eyes. So I'm a tree, a charan. It says charan, it says stira charan. Stationary and moving, chara chara, moving and stira, stan, stationary moving. They're all devotees. And imagine the Lord is very pleased to see what? Devotees. He's very happy. And it's one of the 6 offenses in the Vaishnava Aparad. It's to not feel happiness to see a devotee. Oh yeah, you're the high. Well, nice to see you. Yeah, how are you? So, but that actual happiness, devotees, and the people when they go out in the material world and they mix up with non-devotees and preaching and whatnot, when they come back to the temple, they feel they just crossed a desert and found an oasis. I mean, I'm a little bit surrounded by a very positive environment living in Vrindavan and Radha Kunda, but so many years of my life I was in the middle of all that material energy, and it's a vast desert. It's a vast desert. Very dry and dangerous, because in desert there are very poisonous creatures in deserts. The scorpions are in deserts, and cobras and rattlesnakes in America. Cactus and poisonous plants, many, many poisonous things in deserts. Insects and plants. They have one plant that's like you touch it and it poisons you. So the material world is like that. You touch any aspect of that desert, you get poisoned. So then you come to the temple and meet devotees. It's like oasis. It's a water hole in the middle of the desert. So Mahaprabhu is moving. He took much personal pleasure in seeing everyone. And so now another one person comes to Vrindavan. Oh, these pandas, I can't stand to see them. They're chasing me all up and down, up the stairs, the Barsana, down the stairs. All they're doing is chasing out your anarthas. It's like I go to places sometimes and 3 or 4 pandas are holding me on either arm as I'm doing parikram. And maybe you've seen if you've ever been with me, and people try to pull him. Hey, leave Maharaj alone. He's a big guy. I said no, I like it. Leave him alone. Because I feel they're pulling out my sins. They're pulling out my narthas. They're touching me. They're Dhamvasis, Goswamis. And it's not. No one taught me this. I just because everyone has their experiences. As I often say, it doesn't matter what happens to you in life. It's how you respond to what happens to you that measures the depth of your consciousness. How you respond to what happens to you is an indication of the depth of your consciousness. So it's like, you go there, and I'm with people, and they're my well-wishers, and my students, or with friends, and they think, well, Murat, if that happened to me, I'd throw the guy across the room. But I'm okay, I need a little massage, and I'm laughing, and when they see me laughing, then they're laughing, and then they're grabbing me, and then I put my arm around them, and I just start, and I say, hey, Dande, then I start to say, bakshish, and then they start laughing. And so finally, when we finally all the whole thing cools down, then I give some money, some Lakshmi. I'm not opposed to giving. It's good. It's Tirthayatra should give to the Brahmins. All is positive, and everywhere is positive if you're in that high consciousness. But at least in Vrindavan, we should understand it's all positive, irregardless of the level or extent of our consciousness. It's all very positive and promoting. Positive, promoting, and progressive. It's promoting us, it's pushing us forward, progressing us towards a goal. Little kids, psh, I needed that. Or a squirt in the back, or powder in the face. Or if you live in Vrindavan and see in Vrindavan that everything that comes to me is coming from the hand of Krishna directly. Living in Vrindavan means to see that everything that's happening is coming directly from Krishna's hand. A slap in the face, some hard words. Even if you get in that consciousness before you come to Vrindavan, the whole world you'll see Krishna. And in a different way. For example, I was 24 years old. I was on the streets of San Francisco. I was selling Bhagavatams to the conditioned souls. That was 1975. Maybe you weren't even here. So whatever. And one young person, I said, this book is about love of God, it's this and that. I was explaining. And he stopped me, I often said this, and he looked at me, he said, may I ask you something? He said, do you have love of God? I wasn't being smart or like that or irreverent. He said, I just, you're telling me this book is about love of God. You love God? You have love of God? And I looked at him and I said, frankly, no. But I'm trying to love God, and that's why I'm here trying to spread the message of love of God. And then he said to me, don't you think it's better that first you love God and you come out here and tell people about it? I said, you're right, I agree. Because he said, isn't it a little hypocritical? He was an intelligent person. I said, it is. All right, somewhat, I'm telling you to love God, and I'm telling you to be healthy and I'm sick or whatever. I said, but I'm out here because I know someone that loves God. I know someone that loves God, and he has asked me to come out here and do this. So I feel that if I make him happy, he'll give me that love that he has. And then he didn't say anything more. He said, okay, I can accept that. And he shook my hand very strongly. He said, I appreciate your sincerity and your honesty. How much do you want for the book? I said, it's your call, whatever you want. He said, here, $20. I said, Hare Krishna. I said, hey, look. Exactly like that. Hey, look. Can you do me a favor? I kind of like a pregnant pause. He gave me the money. The book is his. I said, and he's about to leave, and there's another double pause. Oh, Bill, because you already know his name. Can you do me a favor? You think, oh, what happened? I got the book. I gave him money. I said, can you do me one thing? Can you promise me something? He said, yeah. That you'll read the book? I said, yeah. For you, I'll read the book. So that final, thing. And this is how you actually touch hearts when you want to. So Mahaprabhu is touching hearts by glancing. Just by glancing. And he was so happy. How does Mahaprabhu get happy by seeing something in Vrindavan? He's Radha and Krishna. Rasaraj Mahabhav. He's happy to see the trees. Jaya Jaya Gora Chandra Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. This is verse 2. All glories to Lord Gaura Chandra. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu. All glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya headed by Srivas Thakur. Hey Mata Mahaprabhu Nachite Nachite Arit Grame Asi Bhaya Haila Achambite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy, but when he arrived at Arit Gram, his sense perception was awakened. So he was E Mata Nachite Nachite. He's dancing. Nachite Nachite Arit Grame. Arit Grame. He's dancing and dancing. Nachite Nachite. Nach, he's saying in Hindi, Nach, Nach. He's dancing and dancing. So when he's dancing, he is in Antar Chitta, Antar, in deep and inner consciousness. In his own, then finally, because he was looking for Radha Kunda and looking for Shama Kunda, he was just dancing, just thinking about his journey, thinking about his search, thinking about Madhyan Leela, thinking about Krishna. He's in Radha Bhav, Mahaprabhu, and thinking about all his beautiful pastimes at Radha Kunda. And where is this Radha Kunda? No one. Where is Radha Kunda? Just dancing and dancing, and he's letting his dancing be his guidance system. You know, the guidance systems they have for moving person from here to there. So he's dancing and in tune with his own ecstasies, internal ecstasies. Then suddenly he came to external consciousness. That's what it says. When he arrived on the Arit Gram, he came to external consciousness. Because his dancing actually took him to the place he was looking for. And this is the old name of the place. And then we'll go on next verse. Arite Radha Kunda Varta Puche Lokastan Keha Nahi Kahe Sangera Brahmana Najane. People lived here, and the old name of Radha Kunda was called Arit Gram. So fortunately, by the influence of Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna glorifying Radharani, spreading the glories of Radharani, understanding Radharani's love, the greatness of her love and her sweetness and the happiness she relishes by loving Krishna. So now Krishna is trying to love himself through the means of Radha's bhav and form, her saundarya, kanti, and her prem vikar, transformations of love. And because of Mahaprabhu's influence, Radharani's influence, because for 4,500 years, this village was named after the demon. So probably everyone was chanting Ariste, Ariste, instead of Radhe, Radhe. It was Aristagram, or Aritgram. It was Aristagram, Aristasur. So arist comes from arrest. Arista was arrested. He was arrested by Krishna, and his forward progress was stopped because he was trying to disseminate irreligion. He represents irreligion and the breakup of true dharma. True dharma is the prema lingata, or the prema milan of the pure soul with the Lord. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna came here to Govardhan to have a rasa dance with the gopis. And in Padma Puran it tells Pradosh Kal, Arda Pradosh Leela, that halfway through Pradosh Kal, Krishna killed the Ristasura. Pradosh Kal is from 8:36 until 10:48, about 9:30 at night. And Krishna's already here, so when he's wandering around the forest of Vrindavan at 10 o'clock, it's not for milking cows. 10 o'clock at night. It's for meeting the gopis. And he came in to disturb that that union of the Ras Leela, of all the rasas of their heart, and he wanted to kill Krishna. So he wanted to arrest the flow of the Leela, and arrest the expression of highest Dharma. So Krishna arrested him. Arista. Mahaprabhu asked the local people in this village, "Where is Radha Kunda?" No, could you imagine coming out today? "Hey, where's Radha Kunda?" "I don't know. What's that? What are you talking about? What's Radha Kunda?" Can you imagine? Where is Radha Kunda? No one could inform him. And the Brahmana, there was one Brahmana traveling with Mahaprabhu from Mathura. He didn't know either. Like there are people that maybe not know. A lot of people from Delhi, you say, "Do you know where?" They ask you where you're from, you say Radha Kunda. They say what? You say Govardhan. They generally know Govardhan. If they don't know Govardhan, surely they'll know Vrindavan. Generally. So no one knew. Tirtha Lukta Jani Prabhu Sarvagya Bhagavan Dui Danya Kshetri Alpa Jale Kailasnan. Mahaprabhu understood that the holy place called Radha Kunda was no longer visible. It was Lupta Tirtha. Lagamohan. There's one kund called Lagamohan Kund. Lagamohan, that's the place where Shankachuta was killed by Krishna from Ratnavedi at Gwalpakur, a little bit further than Kusum Sarovar, Gwalpakur, Ratnavedi, Shamkuti, it's called Shamkuti, that forest. And then Krishna was there playing Holi. It was actually this time of the year, Holi. Purnima with his gopis. At nighttime they were playing. Evening, night time. And Balaram was also there with his gopis. And the cowherd boys. It was quite a big gathering. Mostly here Krishna and Balaram and the gopis are there. And Shankachuta came and he said, "Oh, all these beautiful girls must be here for me." And he was quite a spiffy looking character, so to speak, and thought he was pretty fancy guy. Casanova type. He was a Guyaka. And so then he tried to gather all the gopis and lead them off to a private place, take them away from Krishna. So then Krishna told Balaram to watch the gopis because there may be other Guyakas loitering around. So he chased him, and he chased him all the way to out here behind the Radha Govinda temple, behind the Dharmashala out that way. There's one kund called Lagamohan Kund. And there's actually steps there and everything. It was developed by Bajranab. And about 40 years ago or 30 years ago or so, it was filled in by dirt. We do landfill for land and stuff. Well, they fill in dirt. Filled in the kund one night and started planting chickpeas. So now it's a field of chickpeas. But you can read about it in the old books of Lagamohan Kund. A lot of the modern books of Radha Kunda they don't tell about, but it's there. It's one of the Tirtha places. So in other words, Lupta Tirtha. The Tirtha has become Lupta, hidden. But because Mahaprabhu is Sarvavatari, here he's described as Sarvagya Bhagavan, he knows everything. The Lord understood that the holy place called Radha Kunda was no longer visible. However, the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvagya Bhagavan Mahaprabhu, discovered Radha Kunda and Shamakund in 2 paddy fields. There was only a little water, but he took his bath there. Alpa Jale Kaila Snan. Alpa Jale, it's little bit of water, he took his bath. Snan. Didn't take Achman, by the way. Snan. And Dekis, and he could have thought, oh, this Radha Kunda is Radharani, I should not bathe. Some people have that idea, and that's acceptable because it's true. Radha Kunda is Radharani, Sham Kunda is Sham Sundar, Sakshat. I know many sannyasis and whatnot, devotees, they don't bathe with that realization. But Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, but they didn't give that restriction, nor did Das Goswami. So, and then it says, Deki Saba Gramya Loker Vismaya Hailaman Premi Prabhu Kare Radha Kundera Stavan. When the people of the village of Aritgram saw Mahaprabhu taking his bath in the middle of the rice fields, and two mud puddles. Like there's a mud puddle. You see, if you look out here in the rainy season, you see a little puddle here and there, some water collected in the middle of the field. Maybe kids play or birds sport around. They were vismaya, they were very astonished. The Lord then offered his prayers to Sri Radha Kunda. Now this is an amazing thing here actually. Five, six God's prayers. When you step back from the story and think about, because sometimes we're so much absorbed in reading the flow of the story, wanting to digest the chapter or digest the story or derive some helpful philosophical points, or just to be nourished in our devotion and attachment for the Lord. We read on and on and on, and that's also very good. But it's also good to be conscious readers. We should be very conscious readers. Conscious of all the elements that are passing across my eyeballs and all the different angles and viewpoints. And oftentimes we read and we read and we reread and we think, all of a sudden it hits us. Because all the different points come together and we say, wow, this is an amazing point here. Because we take it so casually, because when we read these books, Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhagavatam, we're just walking hand in hand with God. we're walking along hand in hand with God like He's one of our friends. He's there and I'm walking beside Him, and He's seeing that He's in the rice paddies and I'm in the rice paddies. Kind of an equalization thing, which naturally happens when you're reading. You identify with the characters, or you identify with the time period or the locale, and you kind of forget who am I? Who am I, the reader, and where am I, and who am I reading about? Because our books are so revealing and so deeply showing the heart of God, the voice of God, the heart of God, the mind of God, the feelings of God. God crying, God laughing, God praying, God begging to His devotees, God taking the feet of His devotees on His head. I mean, this is like that they crippled the hand of Jayadev Goswami when he was trying to write such a thing. Dehi Padapalavam Udaram Adabam. That Krishna holds the feet of Radharani on his forehead. How can I say this? And who's moving this pen? I'm not moving this pen. And this phrase is not coming from my heart or mind or my conception or my idea. And Govinda, this is Gita Govinda. Govinda is singing this. Gita Govinda. Gita Govinda, he's singing it. He's writing it. And then that was confirmed in a whole Leela, that Jayadev Goswami went to take a bath, and then he kind of stretched it out or whatever, left it for later. And then Krishna took his own form, Jayadev Goswami, and then went and then very clearly wrote that in such beautiful Sanskrit, the same shloka right under what he scratched out. Then sat and took the bhog offering of his wife and went on. Everyone knows that famous story. So Krishna appeared there and said, yes, this is a fact. So it's so intimate, these books we have. When you read the Bible or Quran, it's such a distant view of God, the omniscient one, the powerful one, the creator, and he's somewhere you have to look. You need a telescope to see him. You look through a telescope. Wow, he's almighty. He's really big. You have to see some huge distance. But with Krishna, it's like you're inside his pocket. You're inside his heart. This is Krishna in the depth of Radha Bhav. And he's discovered Radha Kunda, the reservoir of all of Krishna's love and the reservoir of all of Radha's love right here in the middle of Vrindavan. There's so much Vrindavan to the east of here, and so much Vrindavan to the west of here, and so much Vrindavan to the north and south here. This is like smack dab in the middle, as they say. Right in the middle of Vrindavan. There's this great reservoir of the intensity of Radha and Krishna's Nitya Milan. Nitya Milan, because in the Sangam they have Nitya Milan, the eternal sambhog in the Sangam. The waters of Radha Kunda mixing with the waters of Shamakund. This is the epitome of their leelas. So now what does he say? because he sees Radha Kunda as Radharani, he sees Krishna Kunda as Krishna. Mahaprabhu said, Savagopi haite Radha Krishnera prayasi, taiche Radha Kunda priyara sarasi. Of all the gopis, Radharani is the dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radha Kunda is very dear to the Lord, Krishna, because Radha Kunda is very dear to Srimati Radharani. So Radharani is Krishna's prayasi, Krishna prayasi. Savagopi. All the gopis, thousands and millions of gopis, Radhika is Radha Priya, she's her prayasi. Prayasi, Priyasi, Prayasi. She's the dearest of the dearest of the dearest. My dearest. They say that sometimes. Oh, you're my dearest. Oh, my dearest. Well, Radharani is that Prayasi. Krishna, Radha, Krishna, Prayasi. The Radha is the dearest to Krishna. And then Radha Kunda Priya, Priyara Sarasi. Priyara, Priya, Priyara, Priyasi. The Prayas, Krishna's Prayasi is Radharani. And then Radha Kunda is Priya. Radha Kunda is Priya to Krishna because Radha Kunda is Priyara to Radharani. Is her Priyara Sarasi. There are so Sarasi means lake, water. Saras, with ras. Sarasi. Because saras means with ras. Sara, saras, or rasa. Backwards. Brajarati Chintamani. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he says, everyone says that this is a Sara, Radha Sara. This Kund is called Radha Sara, the Kund of Radha, the lake of Radha. But I don't say it's Radha Sara, I say it's Radha Ras. Sara becomes Rasa. So this Sarasi, Radha Kund Sarasi, it says it's, of all the Sarasis, it's Radha's Priyara Sarasi. It's her most dear lake. There's so many lakes. There's Lita Kund and this Kund and that Kund and many lakes, hundreds and hundreds of lakes all over Barsana and Nandagram, Kishori Kund and Dohani Kund and many lakes. And there's Prem Sarovara. You must have heard of Prem Sarovara. And Pili Pokur. Radharani washed her hands with a turmeric. But this Radha Kund is so dear, so Krishna's Radharani is the dearmost. So it's dear, very dear, and dearmost, basically. Priya, Priyara, Priyasi. So the Priya is Radha Kund. To Krishna, it's Priya. But to Radharani, it's Priyara. It's most, very dear. And then Krishna's most dear is Radharani. So of all the gopis, Radharani is the dearmost. And Radha Kund is very dear to Krishna. Why is Radha Kund very dear to Krishna? Someone might say, ask you, why is Radha Kund very dear to Krishna? Because Radha Kund is very dear to Srimati Radharani. If your friend is my friend, this is in the higher realms of transparent love. I might say, you're my friend, but you're not my friend. You're my friend, but your friend I don't like. I like you, but you have another friend, but I don't like him. It's like this, it can be like this. So here, his primary dearmost is Radharani. But she really loves this Radha Kund. I know she does, too much. And that's why when she's in Man, I know that if I take shelter of Radha Kund and pray to Radha Kund, because Radha Kund is so much favored to Radharani, maybe Radha Kund will be kind to me and give me Radharani. So when Radharani is unfavorable to Krishna, in a contrary, love-sulking, pouting mood, then Krishna comes to Radha Kund and cries and makes it even deeper, adds more water to it, more salt water. Because he cries, and he cries, and he cries, and the water rises and rises and rises. Because when the rising of the water is not due to the increased volume of tears. The rising of the Radha Kunda water is Radharani's response to his rise of love. As he's crying more and more in separation from Radharani, his tears are falling into Radha Kunda, and Radharani's responding in the form of Radha Kunda by coming up in waves of submission. And pretty soon then Radharani appears there. She comes. He even does puja. Lita Sakhi said, "Why are you crying? You're saying Radhe, Radhe." And one time Krishna came, he folded his hands, "Oh Radha Kunda, oh Radharani, please, oh you're Priyara Sarasi, you're Priyara Sarasi, you're very dear to my Radharani." And I was very dear to Radharani, but now I'm not very dear to Radharani. She doesn't want to meet me, she doesn't want to meet me, she doesn't want to see me, she doesn't want to speak to me. And you're Priyara Sarasi, you're very, very dear. So please, I beg you, you be kind to me and make me also dear to your dear one, Radharani. And Lita Sakhi comes from Brinda Devi. "Are Sham, kya kare? What are you doing?" So I'm pouring my heart out to Radha Kunda. I'm praying to Radha Kunda. No, you have to do puja also. So Krishna says, "That's a good idea." So then Krishna gets a ghee lamp and he starts offering full puja to Radharani, and then Sri Radharani comes up behind him and Radharani's watching. Can you imagine Radharani watching Krishna devoutedly, full-heartedly worshipping Radha Kunda, and tears trickling down his eyes, and with a mood of begging in his mind and heart, and washing Radha Kunda. "Oh Radha Kunda, oh Priyara Sarasi, please be kind to me. Please be merciful to me." And maybe sometimes people speak out loud their prayers or their feelings, and it's, "Oh Radha Kunda, I know you're so dear, you're Priyara to Radharani, and somehow I'm so, like, I don't know what I did, but somehow Radharani doesn't want to meet me anymore, and please help me." Radharani's there. Imagine Radharani watching Krishna, worshipping Radha Kunda, and hearing his prayers of submission and petition for her mercy. Will not her heart melt? Will not she just start crying right alongside of him? His crying will make her cry. He's crying in love for her, and that his crying in love for her will touch her heart and make her cry in love for him. And this is Radha Krishna Milan at Radha Kunda. So Mahaprabhu is remembering all these sweet pastimes, and he's offering this first prayer to Radha Kunda. Then, because Mahaprabhu's Pandit Nimai Mishra, Digvijay Mishra, Digvijay Nimai, Ki Jai. Digvijay Nimai. It was Keshav Kashmiri, Digvijay. But now it's Nimai Pandit, Nimai Vijay. Digvijay Nimai, Ki Jai. And all the kids are jumping, Nimai Ki Jai, Nimai Ki Jai. He's a local, hometown hero, they say. Hometown hero. A boy. He can't walk down the street with no shoes, barefoot. Footloose and fancy free. And then Keshav Kashmiri comes into Navadvip. Big, huge, 15-foot high elephant. Royal asan, trumpets, shanai, everything. 5 elephants in the front. Motorcade, elephant, elephantcade or whatever you call it. 5 elephants in the front, 5 elephants in the back. Big procession. And Nimai said, "Wow, what's this?" And Nimai is going like this. With his long, beautiful hair. Yeah, look at all these elephants. They're going to eat all the bananas. Kulaveshwar Sridhar was worried. Kulaveshwar Sridhar is Krishna's one of his best friend, elder person, friend. Madhamangal. He's his friend. And then he said, Mahaprabhu, these elephants are going to eat up all the bananas. Oh, that's bad, I better defeat this guy fast. Because, Mahaprabhu likes too much sandesh and bananas. So that's a little side effect of the procession of Kashmiri Pandit. Because the whole procession is described. So many elephants are actually described in other places. I've read in different biographies of Mahaprabhu, contemporary type. So the second prayer he's quoting, because he's a Pandit, Nimai Pandit, then he's quoting from Puranas. He is outpouring from his own heart is perfect. Who knows Sanskrit or Bengali or Tattva or Kavi or poetry or Tattva or Siddhanta more than Mahaprabhu, Rasraj Mahabhav. So this is perfect. Sabagopi haite Radha Krishnera preyasi Taiche Radha Kunda priya prayarasarasi. That's perfect. But just to back his perfection with Shastric perfection, the Praman of Shastra, the perfection of Pramanic perfection of Shastra, and he quotes Padma Puran, which is across the board, Vaishnava board, let's say. Padma Puran is highly extolled amongst all Vaishnavas. Skanda Puran, Padma Puran, they're selected Puranas, which are deeply describing the pastimes of Krishna, and many wonderful Sanskrit verses which are quite correct in terms of tattva. You'll see the Padma Purana is highly quoted by our Mahajan Acharyas like Sad Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, etc. Especially Padma Purana. Very amazing Puran. So this verse is there, basically saying the same point that he made, but with that added firepower, the Pramanic power behind his statements, empowered statements of the Puranic evidence. Just as Srimati Radharani, Radha Priya, just as Radha is most dear to Krishna, so her lake Radha Kunda is also very dear to him. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is certainly Krishna's most beloved. Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnu Adyanta Vallabha Yata Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnu Adyanta Vallabha. So she is the Adyanti. There's a type of Sakhi you describe in Ujjwal Nilamani called Adyantiki Sakhi, which means extra specials, the special category, very special category, Atyanta, at the end of the end, the Adyanta Vallabha. In the Purana they're using this word Vishnu, but Radhapriya Vishnus. So obviously the Vishnus here is referring to the all-pervading one, because Vishnu means the all-pervading one. So Vishnu as a word means the all-pervading one, and refers to Krishna. Because in Vishnu Leela, there's no one named Radha. There's Radhapriya Vishnus. So who is dear to, Radha is dear to Vishnu. Well, certainly she is. But in this case, Vishnu refers to Krishna. Like Shiva's name for Krishna means all auspicious. All these names of devatas, who are actually angsas and expansions of Krishna, actually names, this is in Kramasandarbha by Jiva Goswami, all these names of various devas and demigods are actually names which glorify Krishna. They're part of the composite of the Sahasranams of Vishnu, Sahasranams. There's so many thousands and thousands of names of Vishnu describing his Mahima, Krishna ultimately, his glories, his greatness, his powers. So we'll continue there tomorrow because some of you have to journey back to Vrindavan also. And there's this story. Then tomorrow we'll have another story about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, Haridev, and Gopal Nathji. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. So this night.